I've got all the highlights for you. Good evening. I'm Ann Kiguta. Here are your top stories.
By building industries here at home, we can create the kind of economy that will generate 5 million new jobs over the next 5 years.
The Jubilee Blueprint Coalition unveils agenda. Inside the last month, parties dash for the undecided vote. What they say and what they mean, that's on tonight's Checkpoint.
Chance for Nigeria, goal for Nigeria!
And the Afcon shock as Africa's best Ivory Coast are eliminated. Thanks for joining us. It is the 3rd of February, just 29 days to the election. And on this day, the race to State House gained momentum with the launch of a manifesto by the Jubilee Coalition. Now, the manifesto is founded on 3 key pillars that the coalition leaders hope will convince voters to elect them in next month's election. The coalition's first pillar is unity, and under this, the coalition says its government will work towards national cohesion through the elimination of ethnic division. It's also under this pillar that the coalition says it will ensure security prevails. Other areas to be focused on under the pillar include education, youth, and women empowerment. To the second pillar now, and it is on the economy. In this, the coalition says it will give priority to growth and development, and to accelerate this, the coalition will invest in information and communications technologies in pursuit of a digital takeoff. And then finally, to the third pillar of the Jubilee Coalition, the theme is openness. That coalition identifies 3 areas of attention. It says it will fight corruption, work with the civil society to ensure good governance, and ensure power gets to the people through a devolved system of government. KTN's Rita Tinina followed the proceedings today at the Kasarani Gymnasium and now files this report.
Many promises you have made out there. How do you plan to finance them to ensure that Kenyans get those services that you have promised?
Well, definitely, like we said, we have an economy that has been growing over the years. We're not talking about things that are going to involve major funding, all right? It's basically reorganizing and restructuring our own government to be more focused on these people-based issues, people-based issues. We did the economic stimulus program 3 years ago. Had clear-cut programs on health, on schools, right? And it cost us only 20 billion shillings, right? Now 20 billion out of $1 trillion is not much money. If we reorganize ourselves as government, we're not necessarily talking about increasing taxes, and then furthermore better management in terms of our collection of revenue. And as we expand and grow our economy, the base also becomes that much more bigger.
What are you most passionate about at the end of your term? If you're elected president, what would you like to be your legacy?
Most at my heart, at the center of my heart, is finding jobs for these young men and women. They are the ones who have lost hope and faith in this country. They are the ones who, if we don't find an alternative to, will end up basically destroying their own country that they live in because of lack of opportunity and hope. That will be what I would want my success to be based on.
You promised to create 1 million new jobs.
Yeah.
How do you plan to go about that?
Well, again, through the various incentives that we have, attracting more foreign investment, mobilizing domestic resources as well. Also empowering our young men through some of the loan incentives that we've talked about, taking advantage also of the fiber that we have expanded, creating techno villages in as many areas where people can work from home and through the internet do their business throughout the country. Our procurement process, like I said, domesticating things like furniture and other issues. We don't need to be buying these from China. We can manufacture these here. Young men and women can do them, right here. And government is a purchaser straight off. Yeah. These are some of the ideas that we have going forward that will really help us find gainful employment for these
In your speech, you spoke extensively about the issue of land, and you're promising to issue titles, perhaps repossess land that was illegally acquired, computerize the land registry. Do you think after 5 decades of a land problem that is quite so emotive in the country, do you think you can finally have that answer to the land question?
I believe so, and that's why I keep saying that what we always do is we take land as a political football. What we are focusing ourselves on Jubilee, and we've had extensive discussions on this with my partners and others as well, is to actually recognize that the solution to this problem is not through politics. Yeah? It's this issue of adjudication, fast tracking it, right? Resolving that, getting records digitized, because at the end of the day, once people have title, and you've seen those properties that are titled, the country moves on. Nobody really talks too much about them.
In your speech, you said, you know this is not going to be easy, but it's worth the try.
Yes.
What is the one promise you make to the Kenyans, or to those who will vote for you come the 4th of March?
The one promise I make is that all the pledges that we have made, we will work day and night to ensure that they're effective. We will keep Kenyans in the loop. Right? We're not going to wait for 5 years. If something proves, like I said, to be difficult, we will engage with Kenyans, give them what we see as the issues, and together with them work through solutions. But we will dedicate ourselves day and night towards implementing the promises that we have made to the people.
All right.
All right, Rita Tanina speaking to Uhuru Kenyatta, and what a manifesto launch it was. Jubilee going big not only in words but also in style, just as they have been doing ever since Uhuru launched his TNA party. The manifesto launch at Nairobi's Kasarani Gymnasium was attended by all the Jubilee Alliance partners and members of the partner political parties. They have sworn to make security, unemployment and land, those three, their biggest priorities if elected to succeed President Mwai Kibaki's government.
Ladies and gentlemen,
it is a manifesto that is specific, measurable, achievable, realistic and time-bound. It is smart, simply smart. This manifesto will transform our country into a cohesive, just and prosperous nation that we all yearn for.
We are on a mission of transforming Kenya. We believe in an independent and self-reliant, and we believe yawezekana kusema na kutenda.
The year is the Jubilee year. By the Jubilee generation, and in this Jubilee election, we will realize our collective future, promise by promise, in steady steps from March 4th this year. The future of this country is in your hands, ladies and gentlemen. Team up with the Jubilee and make it happen. Together, we shall rise up at dawn, work with all our hearts, all day, every day, until every pledge is fulfilled and discharged. You have seen us deliver before. You can trust us with your future.
Our promises, ladies and gentlemen, are based on an understanding of the problems we face and a determination to deliver real results for every Kenyan. We do not, for 1 minute, claim that this will be easy. But to those who say we cannot achieve our objectives, I say we cannot afford not to try. For too long, we have watched the hopes and dreams of Kenyans turn to despair and then turned to violent ends. Our coalition will not stand idly by and watch the dreams of more Kenyans destroyed.
You know, the land question has turned out to be a very steamy affair in the campaigns. Jubilee's presidential candidate, Uhuru Kenyatta, He's had to stave off claims, especially by his court competitors, that he is one of the perpetrators of land injustices in Kenya on the strength of the amount of land he is believed to own. And as Ferdinand Omondi now reports, that land question is most likely a huge headache for the Jubilee campaigns, especially in the coast region where thousands are landless while the powerful continue to own thousands of acres.
Familiar scenes, familiar voices of desperation.
Wasiangalie tu title katika uamuzi, waangalie historia ya hii plot.
The people of the coast are an aggrieved lot.
Makaburi yako pale chungu nzima. Hata hao ambao wako nje wakishakufa wanazikwa hapa kwa sababu ni nyumbani.
The cry of a people who have been born and raised on pieces of land where their fathers and grandfathers were also born, raised and buried. They call this home, but a document called a title deed says a different thing. More often than not, ownership issues have ended up in courts, but rulings have always been in favor of the holders of the title deed, who are usually non-natives.
Sasa tunasema wakati wa mabwenyenye kunyakua ardhi, walanguzi wa ardhi kunyakua ardhi pwani, imekwisha.
The coastal people have always felt aggrieved that the system has exploited them, robbed them and displaced them from their ancestral land. The government has constantly come under the spotlight for abetting illegal and unfair land acquisition. A few individuals at the coast own thousands of acres of land, while hundreds of thousands of locals hardly own land big enough to dig their own graves. A 2009 government headcount puts quotas at 128,900. Mind, these are the registered ones. The exact number is way higher, going by the numbers of forceful evictions and disputes witnessed perennially in the region. Opponents of the Jubilee presidential candidate Uhuru Kenyatta have accused him of being one of the few owners of massive land holdings in Kenya. According to the respected business magazine Forbes, Uhuru Kenyatta owns at least 500,000 acres of prime land spread across the country. It further says his father, first President Jomo Kenyatta, acquired the land in the 1960s and 1970s when the British colonial government and the World Bank funded a settlement transfer fund scheme that enabled government officials and wealthy Kenyans to acquire land from the British at very low prices. Historians have accused Kenyatta of turning most of government land into personal property, awarding enormous amounts to himself, his family, relatives, friends and political allies. Indeed, in his book Usipoziba Ufa Utajenga Ukuta, Mwandawiro Mganga, a coastal researcher and activist, describes Jomo Kenyatta as the founding father of greed, land grabbing, inequalities, dictatorship, culture of exploitation of person by person, all evils that still haunt the country to this day. Uhuru's critics, particularly in the Court Alliance, have charged that the Jubilee presidential candidate is a direct beneficiary of this and by extension part of the injustice chain to coastal people. Uhuru himself has fought to deflect the debate about his family land holdings, often leaving it to his lieutenants to fight this war.
Mimi ndio nikamuuliza Mheshimiwa Uhuru Kenyatta, wakizunguka sema Kikuyu Libard na kuuliza wewe Uhuru, una plot ngapi? Plot moja, plot tu. Wacha eka moja. Ka plot kile kujenga kama hapa mjini hapa. Huko pwani yote iko nayo. Akasema sina hata plot ya 50 by 100.
While Mwakwere admitted that many landowners at the coast, including his Kwale backyard, are not from the region, he insists these people legally acquired this land on a willing buyer, willing seller basis.
Usidanganywe kuwa Kikuyu waiba ardhi au Uhuru Kenyatta ni Mkikuyu kwa sababu tuliwafuata wenyewe tukawauzia, lakini serikali yetu itarekebisha, tutawaomba wauze ardhi zingine wape tena wananchi ili wasiwe maskota na yafanyika Kenya kwingine.
A source at the Kenya Land Alliance believe large tracts of land associated with Uhuru are in Taita Taveta, the South Coast and the North Coast, but is quick to add that the title deeds bear names of companies associated with him or his kin and not necessarily Uhuru as an individual. The talking point, however, is that the people of Pwani remain aggrieved that most of the unsettled land is in the hands of persons whom they feel should not be holding the title deeds in their possession.
Hata mkisikia wengine wamejiunga MRC, ni dhulma kama hizi za kihistoria ambazo zimpita.
Uhuru Kenyatta can hardly deny that land associated with the Kenyatas in this country runs into hundreds of thousands of acres. And while his opponents will milk this to paint him as another land grabber, his campaign machinery has to show otherwise, or at least make sure that he does not become a victim of the perceived sins of the father. Ferdinand Omondi, KTN, Mombasa.
Well, in the Rift Valley, some leaders are hailing the Uhuru-Ruto alliance as the unexpected but welcome source of tranquility between ethnic communities that live together in that region. And as the Jubilee team pushes forward unity as one of their major pillars, we now take a special look tonight at the ripple effect of that union of top leaders in the coalition and what it has had on the North Rift. KTN's Masi Kandie with a report.
Eldoret is a metropolitan town that has had its fair share of ups and downs, one of its major up being its capacity to feed the entire Kenya as a result of its agricultural produce. But a down that has put this region on the Kenyan map is a dark past, the 2007-2008 post-election violence. Peace initiatives have been ongoing in Eldoret town and its environs to ensure that neighbors are not just neighbors but good neighbors before, during and after the general election. One of the largest battlegrounds for the March 4th general election, the North Rift has been receiving a constant heavy traffic of political rallies. The race is on for the over 3 million registered voters, but the scar of political election violence on the face of the North Rift region that keeps being refreshed every electioneering period is the biggest worry for now. Bishop Cornelius Korir of the Eldoret Catholic Diocese has been spearheading peace initiatives since 1992, when the region first witnessed tribal clashes. He says land and politics remain the bone of contention among communities in the Rift.
So we are asking the people who are doing the campaign not to use land as part of the campaign, because land is so sensitive. So, and yet why do people use land, and yet we have a new constitution that will handle the land issue.
The main players in this year's presidential race have been attempting a careful political balance in the formation of their alliances to ensure they keep the North Rift in the loop to secure the votes. The Jubilee Alliance specifically brings together the political bigwigs from the ethnic backgrounds of the communities that have been at loggerheads in the region during the election period, and it is believed this alliance might be a blessing for the region.
The fact that the parties have come together is also enhancing our peace building, which we started long time, since 2008, such that at the moment we cannot see, or we don't see, the tension among the parties as used to 2007.
Bishop Korir says the peaceful nomination exercise witnessed in the region during the recent party primaries was a powerful pointer of the shape of things to come at the March 4th elections.
Because the approach we have been using on peace building is level of the village and level of politicians. So actually coming by Jubilee Alliance is just cementing what is on the ground.
The significance of the hope for peace draws from the painful experiences of the 2007-2008 post-election violence, embodied in the reality of internally displaced persons, some of who are still braving the cold at the Yamumbi camp.
Those who had land have gone back to their land. Nobody took the land of somebody. The issue of the one remaining Yamumbi are the squatters. So it should be handled as squatters.
The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission opened its regional office in Eldoret town last week Friday, asking residents to report any election irregularities like voter bribery that might hinder smooth election process.
People need to come out and learn and read the regulations. For example, if I pick one of the laws that IEBC has, the regulations that it has put in place, once you have voted, you are not supposed to stay at the voting place. If there's a crowd, as people are discussing who is voting, who is not voting, those people will be put in.
After the numerous programs launched, Bishop tells me that March 4th is not a test only to the politicians, but to them too, the ultimate test, if at all the peace programs and alliances change something, if not everything, about tribal clashes. Masi Kandia, KTN, Eldoret, Uasin Gishu County.
The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission has begun rehearsals for the March 4th poll in an attempt to demystify what is expected to be a complex election. They have tonight began demonstrations on how the tallying of the votes will be done. Now, this follows another demonstration last night at Moi Avenue Primary School, where returning officer for Starehe Peter Kamau Muigai took voters through the voting process. IEBC has rolled out a 3-day exercise that will help Kenyans better understand how to vote and how tallying will be done for the election.
The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission is out to ensure that Kenyan voters wake up on the morning of March 4th fully enlightened of how the voting process shall be conducted. Unlike before, when voters would vote for 3 elective posts on 1 ballot paper, this time it's a little different. Each elective post shall have its own ballot paper and designated ballot box.
And finally, we have that of the county central ward representative.
The color-coded ballot papers and boxes have been designed to reduce the likelihood of voters getting confused during polling day. The only other national poll IEBC has conducted is that of the referendum in 2010, where 2.4% of the votes cast was spoiled. This means that out of the 9,106,285 votes cast, at least 218,000 votes were rejected because of not being marked distinctly. While this could have been easily ignored given the landslide victory of the proponents of the then new constitution, 218,000 votes in this election is too large a number to lose for any candidate, although officials warn that it is unlikely to have 100% successful votes cast.
It is called a voter identification device, and it is used by the queuing clerk. Kindly authenticate the voters. Authenticate the voter.
The likelihood of multiple voting by voters has been reduced by the introduction of this machine that reads the voter's fingerprint. These machines will be assigned to all 33,000 polling stations in the country, following the electronic registration of 14 million voters last year. IEB officials believe that it should take an average voter 5 to 6 minutes to vote, despite the large number of candidates that will be on the ballot papers, especially for the members of parliament, women representatives and ward representative ballots. The simulation started on Saturday night, where mock voters cast their votes. On Sunday night, IEBC will proceed to demonstrate the transmission of tallies from the constituencies to the National Tallying Centre at the Bomas of Kenya. This exercise will be repeated for the next 1 week in designated wards in all 47 counties. Catherine Omwando, KTN.
And now to the campaign trail, where the Amani presidential candidate hit the Rift Valley with a vow to ensure sanity returns to Kenyan politics by being the middle ground between 2 extreme politically rivaled groups. This and other stories next with Catherine Omwanto.
After combing part of the Nyanza region in his whirlwind campaigns, the Amani Alliance presidential candidate Musalia Mudavadi was in Rift Valley today, accompanied by KANU chairman Gideon Moi. Mudavadi asked Kenyans to maintain peace and avoid a repeat of the 2007-2008 post-election chaos.
I have no revenge in my system. Mimi sina hasira na mtu yeyote. Mimi nataka tufanye kazi tukiwa kitu kimoja.
Ujue kwamba tarehe itakuja na itapita. Usiamuke tarehe 5 kusema salale nilifanya nini. Remember, he's the safe pair of hands. Ni mtu ambayo you can entrust watoto wako na yeye.
But as Mudavadi was trying to convince voters to vote for him in Nandi, in Kakamega, UDF members seem to have staged a political mutiny within the alliance by throwing their weight behind New Ford Kenya's Kakamega gubernatorial aspirant Soita Shitanda, who was denied nomination in UDF for lack of proper academic qualifications.
There is no UDF in Kakamega County without the support of Honorable Soita Shitanda.
Haya yote ambayo yalitendeka yalikuwa ni mambo ambayo yalipangwa. Kuna candidates fulani ambao walikuwa wamepangwa kuwekelewa kwa wananchi.
The newly launched Code Effect campaign team was in Kisii County ahead of Prime Minister Raila Odinga's two-day tour of the county. The team, chaired by Sports Minister Babu Namwamba, held rallies in Bonachari, South Mugirango, Bomachoge, Bobasi and Nyaribari Chache constituencies.
Unasema utaleta mabadiliko. Na tulipokuwa tunatafuta katiba mpya, wewe haukuwemo. Unasema utaleta mabadiliko katika umiliki wa ardhi. Na wewe mwenyewe familia yako inarithi ardhi kiasi cha mkoa mzima. Na tunakuuliza, hiyo ardhi ilitoka wapi? Na kama unataka kuleta mabadiliko ya ardhi kama rais, tuanze leo kugawa kidogo iende kwa maskwota ambao hawana ardhi.
And the Eagle Alliance was in Embakasi, Nairobi County. The Alliance's presidential candidate Peter Kenneth, accompanied by his running mate Ronnie Osumba, urged leaders to address the various issues that affect Kenyans, including health, security and education. Catherine Omwanto, KTN.
To the courts now, and the High Court has issued orders barring the Communications Commission of Kenya from switching off Royal Media Services broadcast frequencies. The move comes even as the CCK released a statement to be published in the press tomorrow, confirming that it had already shut down 17 Royal Media broadcast transmitters that operated illegally. And as the court battle over the frequencies continues between the CCK and that media company, Code Alliance members came out in defense of Royal Media, claiming there was malice in the shutdown. KTN's Angel Katusia reports.
The emergency court orders came just 24 hours after the Communication Commission of Kenya announced the drastic measures of shutting down the transmitters in several parts of the country. High Court Judge David Majanja issued the Sunday orders barring CCK from switching off Royal Media's broadcast frequencies, as CCK confirmed that it had indeed shut down 17 Royal Media Services transmitters at 11 sites across the country.
We are not relenting, neither are we going to be cowed down into giving back those transmitters that we have confiscated in our exercise.
But now members of the Code Alliance are terming the move by CCK as unlawful, biased and untimely. Lands Minister James Orengo and Trade Minister Moses Wetangula accused the CCK of ignoring an ongoing court case over the matter.
A court order that in very clear terms restrained the Ministry of Communications and CCK from in any way interfering with the frequencies, the broadcasts and transmission of services by Royal Media Services.
This is the beginning of rigging of the elections. It is one of the ways that I think those within the section of government and within the political class are trying to rig the elections.
The Code members say the move undermines press freedom in the country. However, CCK insists that the transmitters were erected illegally and were affecting aviation communications.
In order to have free and fair elections, you must have free media. The freedom of the press is actually, in my thinking, the most important pillar in the exercise of the right to participate and vote in elections.
CCK accuses Royal Media Services, owners of Citizen TV and Radio, of assigning itself 22 radio frequencies and 2 TV frequencies that are yet to be switched off owing to a court injunction. Members of the Code Alliance, where Royal Media proprietor SK Mashara is a summit chairman, say they sense malice in the move. Royal Media Services has also condemned the CCK action. Angel Katuse, KTN, Sunday Night Live.
School children in Kitui joined the National Education Peace Caravan to ask politicians to keep peace in their communities before, during and after the elections. The National Education for Peace Caravan pitched tent at a school in Kitui where a peace torch was handed over to the county administrator. Students marched in the streets challenging Kenyan politicians to maintain peace in their campaigns and to take into special consideration the future of the young generation before inciting people to violence. In attendance was the County Director of Education, Pascal Makite, and County Commissioner Mofat Kangi. Pascal urged parents and students to work with their neighbors to keep peace. The County Commissioner warned that security agents were under orders to deal firmly with anyone found inciting people to violence during the elections.
Amani tukikosa, amani amani, kwa sababu ya amani. Nitakuwa daktari, sitalala usingizi.
All of you recall the events that took place in this country after the 2007 elections. We don't want a repeat of this. We want these children to tell the parents and tell the country and the leaders that we want peace.
It is, in fact, foolishness. When you are an adult and you start indulging in beer from morning to evening, up to uncontrollable levels where you can no longer control your mind, and then you involve yourself in incidents of lawlessness and disorderliness.
And it's wonderful to see the children setting the example by preaching peace, what we certainly hope for as these campaigns intensify.
Become the winner of the 22nd edition of Nike International Discovery Kenya Half Marathon in Eldoret today. Kimeli, also winner of Kabarak Half Marathon and last year's Sotokota runners-up, obliterated a strong entry of 407 to claim the top honors in 1 hour 3.06 minutes.
Eldoret town came alive Sunday morning with the 22nd running of the Discovery Kenya Half Marathon run along the major streets of the athletics town. And the eventual winner, former junior bronze medalist Peter Kimeli, was on a mission to rebuild his name. The son of former Kenyan great Some Muge had attempted several races before without much success. It was not a walk in the park though, as the budding runner had to tame spirited rivals who pushed the first 10 kilometers in 32.30 minutes along the 7-lap 3 kilometers loop, starting outside the Eldo Center and ending outside the Eldoret Municipal Hall. In the absence of last year's winner Edwin Kipiego, who was present but opted not to defend the title as he is competing in drag half marathon in India on February 15th, newcomers came to the limelight. Jackson Limo, a self-trained talent from Chepkorio in Keio South, took the runners-up position after clocking 1 hour 3.18 minutes. Retained best Victor Kipchirchir retained his last year's third position in a time of 1 hour 3.33 minutes. Joshua Kimboy, KTN Sports Today.
Tusker Premier League defending champions Tusker FC continued to sharpen their arsenal ahead of the 2013 season. The Brewers caged AFC Leopards 2-1 in a friendly match at the Nyayo National Stadium this afternoon. Meanwhile, the City Park Hockey Stadium was getting ready for the new season when it hosted residents living around the city in a festival of hockey. With only few weeks remaining before the Kenya Hockey League bullies off, the weekend provided a chance for sports enthusiasts from different parts of Nairobi to warm up the pitch when they played each other. Teams from Eastlands, Parklands, Thika Road, Ngong Road and Southlands all met at the City Park for the tourney. Two teams that proved the superior nature were Thika Road and Eastlands. To book the final ticket, Thika Road 2 beat Southlands 1-0, a goal scored by Thomas Mushemi. Eastlands got slowed in the last match of the tourney after seeing off Thika Road 1 3-2. Frank Wanangwe got 2 for the Eastlands side and Zach Haura added a goal to make it 3-0. The Thika outfit got the 2 goals from Indian Mulindi. In the final game, Frank Anangwe was on target to hand the Eastlands side victory over Thika.
What we want is to bring back hockey in this country, to bring people to come and watch hockey. So far so good that people have brought their families, people have brought their friends, and we hope that come next year or sometime during the year, if we have one, then we know numbers will go up.
We don't play in any of the leagues, but we just wanted to make an impression.
And at the Nyayo National Stadium, Tusker Premier League defending champions Tusker FC came from a goal down to secure a 2-1 win over AFC Leopards. AFC Leopards opened the scoring in the 25th minute through Alan Wanga. Tusker responded through a penalty from Ismail Dunga to level matters. Tusker got the winner through former Upper Hill Secondary School youngster Michael Olunga.